So hello everyone, today's video is very important for all the students जो कि पॉपुलर बोर्ड से नहीं आते यूके ऑस्ट्रेलिया यूएस के लिए। जैसे हर एक को पता है कि अगर कोई आईबी बोर्ड में है इंडिया से या फिर कोई कैम्ब्रिज बोर्ड से है जो जीसीएसई होता है, उनके लिए आसान होता है स्टडी अब्रॉड करना। पर अगर कोई सीबीएसई बोर्ड या फिर स्टेट बोर्ड होता है उनके लिए थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होता है। सो इस कारण विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट इन डेप्थ अगर आप किसी भी इंडियन बोर्ड से आते हो एंड इफ यू वांट टू स्टडी अब्रॉड इन यूके यूएस कनाडा and what are the things Ishan did to make it possible. So hi Ishan, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, Harnoor. This is Ishan. Hello, everyone. My name is Ishan Marwah. I am coincidentally from the same city as Harnoor is. I'm from Amritsar, Punjab, and an alma mater of the same school, Springdale. So that's how we connected on a personal level. And I am an incoming undergrad for BSc Finance at the London School of Economics and Political Science. And today I am here to share my journey with you of being in Oxford reject also, of being admitted to LSE also, of getting a scholarship into LSE also, and multiple layers that went into and the whole process of a year and a half that went it specifically into applying to universities in the UK and as well as Canada. Right?
Awesome. मैं एज अ ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन आई वांट टू शेयर वी आर फ्रॉम द सेम स्कूल एंड मैंने लकीली ईशान के सारे एसेस पढ़े हैं। आई कुड सी द इयर्स ऑफ एफर्ट्स ही डिडंट डू। ईशान ने सिर्फ एक एप्लीकेशन प्रिपेयर नहीं की है, ही हैड पुट इयर्स ऑफ एफर्ट इनटू रिसर्चिंग अबाउट द यूनिवर्सिटीज। उसे यूनिवर्सिटी की एक डिटेल के बारे में पता है कि अगर एक इंडिया का सीबीएसई बोर्ड जाता है स्टूडेंट तो वहां के चांसेस कितने कम है एज कंपेयर टू बाकी बोर्ड्स। तो एज एन एग्जांपल कैन यू प्लीज शेयर सम नंबर्स कि लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स में इंडिया से कौन से स्कूल्स के बच्चे ज्यादा जाते हैं?
Sir, so this is also a very, let's say, it's an eventual realization, है ना? There are obviously no stats available. The online available stats says about the acceptance rate for LSE is about 7 to 8%, 6 to 8% that time, around that frame. Uske baad, sir, last year when you would check 2 months ago on the LSE India website, it would say 123 undergrads came to LSE in the year 2021 from India. The majority, and by majority I would like to say at this point in time, 70 to 75% of them are from the IB and Cambridge A levels. Now, how I know that is, for that matter, is because that is contextual evidence. When I went to give my Oxford exam on the 4th of November 2021 in Delhi, from Amritsar to Delhi, I met at least, so usme kya tha, our deadline was the 14th of October to submit the application because all of us had either applied to Oxford or Cambridge. And I met at least 15 to 17 people on the 4th of November 2021, and I met 15 to 17 people who'd been rejected by LSE, just like that. And by just like that, I mean, I don't know the criteria for it, but all of them, obviously I cannot be 100% sure, but let me share with you that all of those 15 to 17 people were from CBSE.
Oh.
And it not had been 2 weeks until the application was submitted, right? So make of that what you will.
Wow.
ठीक है जी. But having said that, right now I am in contact with almost 5 to 6 people from Delhi who are going to LSE in either economics, finance, management, etc., etc. All of them are from DPS. 2 of them are from Akipuram. One of them is from Vasant Vihar, ऐसे करके, from Delhi and from DPS Delhi, right? So there are CBSE kids. I am one of them, right? I am from Amritsar, and but they aren't many, right?
Oh wow, that shows the reality कि CBSE से बाहर जाना थोड़ा सा challenging हो सकता है.
If you want to apply as an undergrad to Cambridge, if I were a counselor and somebody came to me, and a 12th grader came to me कि मुझे Cambridge apply करना CBSE में, as encouraging a person I am, I applied to Oxford myself and got rejected again. I got rejected. I would tell them not to apply to Cambridge at all, because when you open the Cambridge India website, it explicitly states that CBSE grade 12 qualifications are not suited enough for an undergrad degree at Cambridge.
Oh.
So वो कहता है unless and until आपने 5 AP दिए हैं अगर आप केमिकल इंजीनियरिंग या इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हो, उसमें आपका 2000 से ऊपर जेई में इनका रैंक आया है एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस सिस्टम, उसके बिना योर एप्लीकेशन वुड नॉट बी डीम्ड competitive enough only. तो फिर तो कैम्ब्रिज तो no CBSE student should, unless and until he or she has 5 APs, which is very rare in my, as far as I see, है ना?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean
extremely
maybe
rare.
one, है ना? 5 APs कौन, कोई नहीं देता 5। इनफैक्ट जो IB वाले जिन्होंने यूएस भी अप्लाई करना होता है, वो भी 3-4 APs देते हैं, उसके बाद वो सब्जेक्ट टेस्ट देते हैं, या एज जो भी, है ना? 5
मैंने
AP कोई
खुद
नहीं देता।
मैंने खुद
हाँ
4 दिए थे, दैट वाज आल्सो बिग
हाँ
चैलेंज उसमें
हाँ
स्कोर
जी
लाना।
बिल्कुल।
सो दैट शोज कि एलीट यूनिवर्सिटीज में सीबीएसई से जाना काफी चैलेंजिंग हो सकता है। आउट कंट्री स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन, आपने यूके क्यों चूज किया एज कंपेयर टू कनाडा और यूएस? हमारे स्कूल से तो सारे बच्चे हर कंट्री में जाते हैं, व्हाई यूके?
I only applied to 6 universities because last year we had 2 boards as well. We had term 1 and term 2 and CBSE board. So a US university, in my opinion, a good US university, say a Wharton, say a this thing, once you have all your credentials ready, it takes you 15 days worth of essays to complete one elite US universities, in my opinion, right? That is how I would calculate it last year. And even if I wanted to apply to only 3 or 4 universities, say Wharton, Berkeley, Chicago, maybe UCLA as well, and I would have to churn out 30-35 days from a time frame where I had absolutely no time at all, because I did a research paper, then I did my UK this thing, then I did my Canada applications, then I did my Canada scholarship applications, and then right after that, from the 1st of December, I had boards. And us time per we all assumed in वो सर्दियों में of 2021 कि अगले बार तक टर्म 2 तक अप्रैल मई तक दोबारा कोविड आ जाएगा, और इसमें नंबर ले लो, ये डबल हो जाएंगे मार्क्स। दैट इज व्हाट आवर टीचर्स टोल्ड अस कि यू हैव टू एटलीस्ट अज्यूम कि अगली बार तक, बिकॉज पंजाब इलेक्शंस वर आल्सो देयर, मल्टीपल इलेक्शंस वर देयर, तो ऐसे यही लग रहा था कि जब तक टर्म 2 आएगी तब तक तो कोविड आ जाएगा, तो अगर इसमें यू गेट योर मार्क्स हियर, it will be most likely be doubled, and that is what your result will be, right? And उस टाइम तक तो ना CUET था, ना कुछ ऐसा था, so everybody did have to get a certain percentage of result जितनी उनको personally चाहिए थी, right? So that is the whole scenario. Plus, I would categorically now talk about the US, and then I would talk about Canada, right? So the US, why I did not apply to the US at all. Canada तो मैंने apply किया, I got it to university as well, है ना? So US में, sir, first of all, you have to understand that in most universities, we have the first year, so to say, the liberal arts year, right? So wherein, and I hope if the audience does not know what the liberal arts year is, let us explain it. It essentially says that you are free to choose your courses, you are free to choose your curriculum, and once you experiment that way in year 1, or let's say 3 quarters up till your way to the year 1, then you finally choose a major and a minor and so on in the beginning of your second year, or at least the very end of your first year. Am I correct, sir, in saying that?
Yes, totally.
ठीक है जी,
So in liberal
right?
arts में like you have flexibility to
जी
मुझे ज्यादा नहीं पता, मतलब आप कोई भी मेजर ले सकते हो स्टार्टिंग से ही।
हाँ जी, नहीं स्टार्टिंग में सर दैट इज द इंटायर, जैसे अब आप हार्वर्ड में अंडरग्रेड करने जाओ, या UCLA में अंडरग्रेड करने जाओ, या कहीं पर भी अंडरग्रेड करने जाओ, शिकागो में अंडरग्रेड करने जाओ, योर फर्स्ट ईयर, और अब तो ये इंडिया में भी है, अशोका में, अशोका यूनिवर्सिटी इन इंडिया आल्सो फॉलोज द सेम पैटर्न प्रीटी मच। योर फर्स्ट ईयर, और फर्स्ट 3 quarters of your first year, you are basically, you can basically do whatever you want to in terms of your academic curriculum. You can try different classes. It have Yale, NUS in Singapore, all of them follow the same pattern, right? Uske baad in your second year, you finally choose a major and a minor, right? Um, I had no real intentions of doing that, because I knew that I wanted to do finance, economics, business, है ना? That, and because I wanted to do finance, economics, business at undergrad only, my top options were anyways limited in the US. In terms of, matlab, in the end, I did not even want to apply to Harvard. I wanted to apply to Wharton, Berkeley, and Chicago. Those were my 3 universities that I wanted to apply to, colleges that I wanted to apply to. Why I did not apply was, first, I did not have the time. given all of that, what happened in those 3 to 4 months, है ना? It was a chain, this thing. Secondly, when I talk about, I cannot really say this about Berkeley in Chicago because I did not research them enough to get into this conclusion, what I'm going to give you right now. Wharton, your annual expenditure at Wharton is nearly about, as an international student without aid, is about $70,000 to $75,000, right? So you multiply that by 4, and then it turns out in Indian rupees at this point in time, it turns out to be 2.25, 2.5, around that mark CR, right? Now, I personally wasn't that comfortable spending that much money on my undergrad, right? Even if I could, I wasn't. I knew for a fact कि मेरे दिमाग पर pressure आ जाएगा, right? Of that particular number, of that particular amount that I did just spend. And plus, I knew for a fact that Wharton में, if the audience might not be knowing this, but in the US, only 4 universities are internationally need blind, and they are Harvard, MIT, Princeton, and Amherst. Only 4 colleges. Rest, all of them are domestically need blind. Very good. But otherwise, in 4 के अलावा बाकी कोई भी internationally need blind. That is, अगर मैं Wharton को बोलूँगा कि I need financial aid अपनी application में, और एक same cloned ईशान मरवाहा Wharton को same application डालेगा और कहेगा I do not need financial aid, his or her application, his or her this thing will be preferred. He will be preferred, right? That is how financial aid works at US, in the US university, right? Now, and this was validated. Funnily enough, 1 month ago only, when I met a fellow from Hyderabad who is going to LSE in my course, BSc Finance, and he had applied to Wharton, early application, got waitlisted in early application. Great. I mean, it's a big thing to get even waitlisted in Harvard Wharton early application, right? And then after 2 or 3 months, he got an email saying that because you applied to financial aid, you got rejected. So that theory of mine got validated unknowingly अभी एक महीने पहले ही 15 दिन पहले, when a friend of mine told me about this, right? So that is pretty much it about the US. About Canada, I could not apply. So Canada, as our audience might know, it's pretty straightforward. You have 5 to 6 top universities if you want to apply to those top universities, and then as and when you go down, you have the University of Toronto, you have University of British Columbia, you have McGill, you have Waterloo if you're doing engineering. It is probably the best university in Canada for engineering, and so on and so forth. 1 or 2, you have Schulich School of Business at York University in Ontario, and like that. Now, I wanted to apply to the University of Toronto, but because I had applied mathematics, so this also is a new thing. By the way, disclaimer alert: any CBSE student watching this right now, please do not take applied mathematics. Do not, just do not. Anybody who asks me whether grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 कि applied mathematics लेनी है कि normal mathematics लेनी है, please कर लो calculus, काम आएगा. Applied mathematics मत लेना, please मत लेना, right? So I had a good email conversation with them as well. और पूरी हमारी 5-6 emails की thread exchange हुई थी. And finally, the University of Toronto said कि हमारे courses के लिए we can't take applied math kids.
So हम बात कर रहे थे कनाडा की, आप यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टोरंटो अप्लाई कर रहे थे. सो यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टोरंटो, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया, एंड यहाँ पर कई स्कॉलरशिप्स होती हैं जो एक स्टूडेंट को एक इंडिया के स्कूल से पकड़ती हैं, जैसे आईलॉट हो गया, बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है. सो आप बात कर रहे थे यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टोरंटो. सो हाउ वाज द प्रोसेस?
Yeah, so the University of Toronto, I was saying I could not apply to the University of Toronto in Rotman BBA. So the Rotman School of Business में there's a BBA and there's a BCom as well. I believe it might not be there, but मेरा जो course था, in fact उनका हर business course में, हर finance course में, economics course में, I could not apply because I had applied mathematics. I had the misfortune of having applied mathematics, and therefore I could not apply to the University of Toronto. But now I would have applied to the University of Toronto. ठीक है ना? उसके बाद my second option, obviously everybody's second option is UBC and then the University of British Columbia. There I applied BCom. उनका Bachelors of Commerce होता है. It's like it's a comprehensive this thing, right? And there also I applied for ILOT as well. And ILOT में it was a big deal. ILOT in terms of the fact कि ILOT में I had to churn up almost 18 to 20 pieces of content in terms of essays. There were 8 to 9 essays. Then there were recommendations, or recommendation के भी prompts थे, right? There were recommendations. So when you give them a teacher email कि ये मेरे टीचर हैं, इनका email है, contact them for recommendation. अब टीचर को आते हैं 5 prompts. 5 2 टीचर्स, उनको 5 प्रॉम्प्ट्स चाहिए. जब वो तो फिर तुम ही लिख के दोगे ना. टीचर वुड से कि आई टीचर हैड रिटन, both my teachers had written a recommendation for me, but because there were 5 essay prompts of 200 words each, 100 words each, something like that, so that obviously you had to construct, so that was in your kitty as well. और ऐसे ऐसे करके I was hoping for a 200,000 this thing scholarship. I got 100,000 waiver, and I kept it at hold. Or that is that for the University of British Columbia. To this day, I believe some of my best pieces of writing, and Harnoor has read my LSE essays. To this day, some of the best pieces of my writing, perhaps even better than the ones that I sent Harnoor and the ones that we probably will be discussing later, were were the ones that I sent to UBC for ILOT. I was so happy, so satisfied with them. And yeah, so UBC, that's why I did not apply to any other Canadian university, because first of all, इतना कोई UBC का Canada में, if there's one thing that you need to know about Canada, is because if you have your grade percentage and your predicted score percentage above, let's say 92, 93, 94 as a school से, there's 95 to 99%, there's no way you're going to be rejected by a Canadian university.
ओह, बस
There is
आपके
no way.
हाँ, स्कोर आ जाए तो
हाँ
you're in, no essay needed.
हाँ, ऐसे भी बहुत कम. अब सिर्फ अगेन यूबीसी में सिर्फ बी कंप्यूटर साइंस के लिए ऐसे नहीं चाहिए यूबीसी में, मेरे ख्याल से बीकॉम के लिए चाहिए था, राइट? कंप्यूटर साइंस के लिए अगर चाहिए भी था तो सिर्फ एक ऐसे चाहिए होता है. सिमिलरली रॉटमन का भी एक ऐसे. मोस्ट कोर्सेज यू अप्लाई टू ओनली विद योर प्रेडिक्टेड ग्रेड्स इन कनाडा, बी इट मैकगिल, यू ऑफ टी, यूबीसी, कुछ भी, राइट? सो मेरे लिए देयर वाज नो पॉइंट ऑफ कीपिंग अ बैकअप. और आई वाज एनीवे स्टिकिंग टू माय प्लान कि मेरे को वहां जाना है जहाँ पर मेरे दोस्त हैं. आई हैव अ ग्रेट फ्रेंड इन यूबीसी who will stay there for about 2 years now. He's in his 4th year and he will do his co-op year as well. And from Amritsar only, from Springdale only. And that is why I applied to UBC, and because obviously the school was great. But I did not apply to any other Canadian university because कोई backup रखने का Canada में, at least मेरे लिए at that point in time, with the amount of work, there was no point, है ना?
So why you chose UK over Canada even though आपको 100,000 Canadian dollars की scholarship मिल गई थी?
Now, why I did not go to Canada probably is because when you do the math, जब मुझे LSE से आ गई, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जब मुझे LSE से आई, आई गॉट माय ऑफर ऑन प्रोबेबली द 8th of April 2022, और मेरे को UBC से आई मेरे ख्याल से मिड मार्च में, ठीक है? तो LSE obviously has way it's in that elite list of Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Wharton वाला लिस्ट में आता है LSE बहुत आराम से. UBC for whatever reason does not, ठीक है ना? At least in my world view, at least in how I perceive things. So obviously LSE was given preference over UBC. उसके बाद then I had a lot of friends in the UK, and I have close family in the UK as well. I mean, my mother's maternal side of the family is in the UK.
So let's talk about the difference. तो आपको LSE में सबसे पहले बताना कि LSE की without scholarship फीस कितनी है लंदन की?
ठीक है जी. So for international students, LSE में, mind you, this is only LSE. This is not King's, Warwick, Oxford, any other university. क्योंकि LSE की in general कम है फीस for international students, and there's a logic behind this. LSE का ratio for international students to domestic students UK में सबसे ज्यादा है. LSE has about 65 to 70% international students, whereas Oxford has about 30% for comparison. ठीक है ना? तो दैट इज वाई उनकी फीस कम है, क्योंकि उनका वॉल्यूम इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स का ज्यादा है. सो LSE fees is 23 for international students is 23,336 pounds a year. Multiply that by 3, you are looking at 70,000 pounds. And because it's a 3-year undergrad, it's about 70 lakhs
Yep.
for
70 lakhs.
only tuition. बाकी the problem with London is कि उसमें आप खर्चा डालो 12 से 13 लाख रुपए साल का फॉर लिविंग, एंड फिर आपका वो ऊपर जाता है बिल टोटल.
Yeah.
बिकॉज आप वैंकूवर में द ओनली सिटी इन द वर्ल्ड दैट यू कैन कंपेयर टू सेंट्रल लंदन लिविंग इज न्यूयॉर्क. दैट्स इट. लंदन से ऊपर खर्चे में और कुछ है ही नहीं, एंड दैट टू सेंट्रल लंदन.
सो बेसिकली 70 lakhs हो गई LSE की. अब यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया की होगी आई थिंक $240,000. तो
Combined.
क्योंकि $60,000 पर ईयर है तो $240,000 हो गया. अब $100,000 की आपको स्कॉलरशिप मिल गई तो वो $140,000 होगी तो 70 लाख होगी. सो 70 lakhs दोनों सेम पड़ रही थी आपको विद LSE की विदाउट स्कॉलरशिप, कनाडा की विद स्कॉलरशिप आपको सेम पड़ रही थी. अब आगे बात करते हैं कि यूके में आपको स्कॉलरशिप कैसे मिली, अब कितनी मिली और क्या मिली.
The scholarship that I got was first of all very competitive, and it's very rare for international students, है ना. मैंने खुद उसको I took it very casually in terms of मैंने तो कहा I have nothing to lose, so why not I apply to it, right? And if we talk numbers, out of the 23,336 pounds that was my fee, I got a waiver of, or a scholarship of, 14,336 pounds, which brings my tuition fee to 9,000 pounds flat, which is your domestic rate. Now it is an automatically renewable scholarship. वो मेरे contract में लिखा हुआ है, subject to कि मैं fail नहीं होता या मेरी वो एक certain average GPA आती है, so on and so forth, जो हर scholarship के साथ आते हैं. Normal terms and conditions होते हैं. That is it.
वाओ. आई वांट टू शेयर वंस अगेन कि यूके में स्कॉलरशिप लेना इज एक्सट्रीमली रेयर. मैंने इतने बच्चों से बात की है, अगर किसी को स्कॉलरशिप मिलती भी है दैट इज जस्ट पेनीज. £4,000 £2,000 पर ईयर, इससे ज्यादा कोई यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं देती. नाउ कैन यू प्लीज शेयर आपको क्यों मिली, व्हाई यू वर
Right.
स्पेशल, एंड दैट आल्सो फ्रॉम CBSE बैकग्राउंड.
Right. So first of all, ये पता होना चाहिए सारों को कि in the UK funding is readily available for postgraduate students. बहुत funds हैं, external, internal. क्योंकि you have the Tata Fund, you have इसी साल मेरे ख्याल से the British High Commission is giving 75 scholarships for 75 years of independence, ऐसा करके कुछ, right? For Indian students, all of them for postgraduation. Now ये मैंने अपना सिर खपा लिया. Undergraduation में there are absolutely no external funding available. There is absolutely no external funding. आप in the UK अगर आपको मिल जाए तो I mean well and good, बहुत congratulations to you, but I could not find any external funding at all, even for the sake of finding it. ठीक है ना, मतलब दिखने के लिए कि है कि नहीं है, मुझे तब भी नहीं मिली, right? The only thing that I could find was the LSE undergraduate support scheme. अब उसमें क्या है, you are looking at and what my research told me, in fact I would even mention a YouTuber here whose videos I watched a lot. He's from the UK. He's a domestic student, of course. He was a law student at LSE. His YouTube channel is called Ali Obeid. ALIOBEID. I did watch a lot of his videos. He had some content on um, scholarships specifically for LSE, but obviously it was directed to domestic students. You could get some takeaways from it, obviously, because scholarship to scholarship hai. But he was talking from his perspective of a domestic student, and that to somebody who had so he mentions this in his videos. I am not saying this out of this thing, मतलब मैं कुछ बनाकर नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. His dad died when he was an infant, so his extenuating circumstance क्या थे? His dad died when he was an infant, and he explicitly says in his videos that his family income is nil. That is what he says, and that is what he put in his scholarship application. That is what he says in his videos. मैं again disclaimer, मैं ये अपनी तरह से नहीं बना रहा. It's just that मुझे याद है, right? In one of his videos, he explained his extenuating circumstances and the the whole logic behind his scholarship, ऐसे करके, right? He has a playlist of videos on the scholarship. You should check him out. I mean, it's just knowledge, right? है ना? तो ये system है. Now, अब in within those scholarships also, what I realized was that they were looking to fund domestic students more than they were looking to fund international students, everybody, and there are two very obvious reasons for it. And international undergrad students like you and me, when you went, when I am going, are basically cash cows for foreign universities, right? And there's no, it's not my, I am not, putting this out as a negative thing. I am putting it as a very general, very sophisticated and very real thing कि ये होता है, and if people don't know about it, then it's your fault, है ना?
Yeah.
कि international undergrad students especially are nothing but cash cows for universities, right? Be it कोई भी tier का university हो, कुछ भी हो, है ना?
Yeah. So basically यूनिवर्सिटीज मैक्सिमम केसेस में स्कॉलरशिप देती हैं, या तो आप बहुत ज्यादा आपने कोर्सेज रेलेवेंट लिए हो, लाइक GCSE या फिर AP कोर्सेज जैसे आपने बताया, जाके आपके पूरे 10 on 10 रिक्वायरमेंट्स मैच हो रहे हो यूके के लिए, या फिर यू आर फ्रॉम द एक्सट्रीमली मार्जिनलाइज्ड या फिर एक्सट्रीमली कंडीशंस जहां पर there was poverty, there was not financial need उन स्टूडेंट्स की मीट नहीं हो पा रही थी, या उनकी फैमिली बैकग्राउंड ऐसी थी that it was it could be categorized as like extreme cases, जिन cases में उन्हें scholarship मिली, right?
What I found out was they were primarily targeting the UK for funding, and for good reason, because जितने में वो एक international बच्चे को fund करेंगे, उतने में वो 3 अपने domestic बच्चों को fund कर लेंगे, right? In the same money. And also within those domestic students, they're obviously looking at the more marginalized, and obviously that also comes without saying there's a great logic to it. PR logic, diversity logic, all of those logics that you want to include. It's a very valid game. It's a very valid. I mean, nobody is complaining here कि international students को scholarship नहीं मिलती, है ना? Everybody who goes there, nobody, unless and until, so nobody is complaining about that, and nobody is complaining कि उनका क्या है sense of this thing. Now, obviously, when I look back at this thing, the achievement here is I do not, as I told her Noor earlier as well, you and I, we cannot categorize ourselves as underprivileged people, right? It would be wrong of us to say that we are underprivileged or portray that we are underprivileged. And क्या कहते हैं, the achievement here is that I do not come from that from an underprivileged background. My whole extenuating circumstance was, मतलब जो कि भैया आपका total budget इतना including living, है ना? I have this much money. The rest, if you can fund me, very good. If you cannot, then I will see. ठीक है ना? That was the entire extenuating circumstance. And obviously then I will see में मैंने उनको obviously mention किया कि in my essay कि probably if you don't, इतना तो I think I can say it as well, if you don't, then I probably won't be able to attend LSE, right? And because that is what you have to, in order, if you're going for a scholarship, you have to create urgency, right? That is the rule, that is the thumb rule, right? You have to create urgency, and you have to create a sense of this thing कि it's black and white. You have to create a sense of black and white, right? And so that was that, है ना? मतलब उसके अलावा I had not portrayed, and I cannot for that matter portray any other extenuating circumstance that I was faced racial abuse or this or that, blah blah. Maybe बहुत ही simple this thing थी. Again, this is not the entire, obviously this is not the entire essay. This is just, as I said, one paragraph of that essay. And उसमें बस एक इतना part कि ऐसे ऐसे करके, this much is your total budget, this much I have, this percentage please provide, yeah, please fund, right? So that is the entire reason perhaps we are doing the video, because if you do not have that much of an extenuating circumstance and you got the scholarship, that means your main content or your main good thing was your essay, right? And that was the entire catch. So that is the entire reason we are probably doing the whole thing.